This module is called Running Commands Asynchronously. That's rather a mouthful. Let's find out what asynchronous means. To say that a process is running asynchronously is to say that it is running in the background. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if you start a program asynchronously, then the shell does not wait for the process to finish before presenting you with another prompt, another $sign if you like, and allowing you to start another process. Now this is particularly helpful if the process that you want to run is going to take a long time to run. Let's say the process is going to take an hour to run, and you don't really want to wait an hour for it to finish. Then you can run it asynchronously. You can run it, if you like, in the background, and while it's running away in the background doing its hour-long processing task, you can start other processes. In other words, you can carry on with your normal interaction with the shell. And that's quite nice. Obviously, when you use the PS command, the PS will show you that that process is running in the background. So let's look at how we do this. To run any process asynchronously, you simply append an ampersand to the end of the command line. So let's have a look at that. Before we begin, I will show you a small program called Sleep. It's a handy little program for demonstrating concepts like running in the background, because it's a program that does absolutely nothing, but it does it for an arbitrary length of time. You can get Sleep to do nothing, or sleep if you like, for a given number of seconds. Like if I typed in sleep 5 and press enter, then I wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then I get my prompt back. So theoretically, if I typed in sleep 1000 and pressed enter, I would not get my shell prompt back for 1000 seconds. Well, I'm going to interrupt that by pressing Ctrl+C, and I get my shell prompt back straight away. But of course, the sleep process is no longer running. It got interrupted, if you like, by my Ctrl+C. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you Sleep is it's a wonderful process for simulating tasks that take a long time to complete. So, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I type in sleep 3600 to simulate a process that will run for exactly 1 hour, 3600 seconds. Now, if I append an ampersand to the end of that command line, then theoretically I will get my prompt back straight away. I won't have to wait 3600 seconds to get my prompt back. So let's do that. Okay, I got my prompt back straight away, and I was also shown a piece of information. 16976. What do you suppose that is? Well, it's actually the process ID of the sleep process that is currently running in the background. I can prove that. I can simply do a PS, and now you'll find that I'm actually running 3 processes, the bash and the PS of course, but also the sleep, and you'll notice that the sleep has a process ID of 16,976. And it will stay running there for the next 3600 seconds, at which time it will automatically stop. And when it does, I'll be presented with a little bit of information. The shell will just give me one line of information on the screen saying, oh, by the way, that sleep process that you started has now finished, or some technical words to that effect. Now that's almost all there is to it for running commands in the background. You can run as many as you like. There is a limit, but it's a very large limit. It's probably up in the hundreds of programs. So feel free to start as many processes as you like. There are a couple of provisos, and I'll just mention those to you now. Note that if you try and run a command that takes standard input, in other words, a command that will be at some point pausing and waiting for you to type something on the keyboard, you actually can't run those processes in the background. Well, you can run them, but they will simply not work. At the point where it comes to collect information from the keyboard, it will encounter an error because there is no possible way that you can type information into a process that is running in the background. You can only type information into processes that are running in the foreground. So you kind of need to know this ahead of time. Is the process that I'm going to run going to require any information from the keyboard? If the answer is no, then it's perfectly safe to run it in the background. If the answer is yes, then you really can't do that. The other note is, it is actually okay to run a command in the background if that command produces standard output or standard error. But such programs, as they run, they'll produce their output, and that output will be splattered all over the screen in the middle of whatever else you might be doing while they're running. So, for example, if you start a program and it produces a couple of lines of output every 5 seconds, then no matter what else you are doing on that terminal, you might be in the middle of typing a command, or you might be in the middle of editing a file, doesn't really matter. Every 5 seconds, a couple of lines of output text are going to be splattered across the screen that you're in, starting from wherever the cursor happens to be flashing. So it's going to become very annoying. So if you think the program is going to do that, then simply start the process and redirect any output to a file, or dev null if you don't want to see the output at all. Then when you get the notification that the process has finished running, you can simply go and have a look at what's in the file, and that will be the output of that process, the results if you like. Finally, it's important to note that if you start a process asynchronously and then log out, when you log back in again, the process will be gone. In fact, it'll be gone as soon as you log out. When you log out, you take all your processes with you. So just be aware of that.